on the local machines, right? So we are going to create a cluster. We are going to create a cluster and we are going to use the data. Okay, so we are going to use the data. So just go to MongoDB. Okay, let me open another browser. Okay, different browser, so that you can see, right? It's no more installation, no more MongoDB local installation. So you just type mongodb.com. It will open the home screen, and it will show you that how you can create. So it's like mongodb.com. Yes. Okay. So very first time when you log in, it will be like this. Okay. When you log in, it will be like this. Yeah. Just click on the cloud. You see the first option, Atlas, right? So you just click on it. Okay. So we are going to use the same thing. It's a free, but it's not like fully. It's not like. I mean, it's not like unlimited space. They will give up to half GB, right? Up to half GB free, and you can select any one of the cloud, right? You can select any one of the cloud. So what you can do, just click on the start free. So it will ask you to log in. Okay, create a profile. Okay, no problem. You can create the profile. So you give your name, some junk company name, your personal email ID, first name, last name, and password. Click on the get started free, right? As soon as you log in into this, so you see some kind of dashboard, right? So I already created some cluster dashboard, so that is the reason why I can see the cluster 0, right? But when you log in, you won't see anything here. You are able to see a new cluster, right? Create cluster button. So you can click on it. It will automatically create a cluster for you, right? It will automatically create a cluster. So by defaultly, it's going to have 3 nodes, right? So you don't need to do anything. Just click create cluster, right? Just click create cluster. So your MongoDB will automatically create a cluster, but it will ask you what cloud you want, right? So as we seen in the last screen, so it is compatible with all three famous clouds, right? AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. So these three are the leading cloud providers in this market now. So you can choose whatever you would like to. But I choose AWS. If you know Google Cloud better, right? You choose Google Cloud. If you know Azure, just select Azure. If you know AWS, just choose AWS. If you don't know anything, you can select any one of these, no doubt. Okay, no problem. Because we are not going to play much with on this cloud MongoDB, right? So we are just going to use it as just like a database, right? We are going to just use like a database. So if you don't know anything, better select AWS. But if you feel comfortable with Google Cloud, select Google Cloud. And if you feel comfortable with Azure, you just select Azure. Or else let me create a new cluster. Okay, let me create one more cluster. So when I click on new cluster, okay, it shows yeah, which cloud provider you would like to select, right? So it's fine if you would like to select Google Cloud, no doubt, no problem. If you would like to select Azure, no problem. But if you don't know anything, let's select AWS, because AWS has I know I feel comfortable with AWS. That's why I'm feeling it. I'm selecting AWS, right? And you want any replicas, clusters? Yes, just select yes. And this is what is the default thing, right? Who are in US, just select which is the nearest state for you. Who are in India, just select Mumbai, right? I selected Mumbai because I'm in India, right? So just select India. So select free tier, don't select any cost effective thing, right? So for example, the people who are near to Ohio State or California, right? So don't select these two. Just go and select near, which is for free of cost, right? Because we would like to go with the free of cost, and just click on create cluster button. So the cluster will automatically create, right? So it won't ask it. It won't even ask your credit card details. That is one good thing I really like. I really like MongoDB, right? It won't ask you the, the credit card. But if you go for direct cloud provider, right, AWS or Google or Azure, and you go and install MongoDB there, they will collect credit card details. So let's not do that. Okay, don't give your credit card details to anyone, including AWS, Google Cloud, Azure also, until unless it is really mandatory. Okay, so let's go to MongoDB and create a cluster here. It won't ask you any credit card details, and it creates some replicas, better replicas, and just select which is nearest to you, right? Which is the region which is near to you, and make sure you choose free type, right? So there are some limitations we have with this free type, right? Up to 512 GB we can store the data. Okay, maximum 512 GB we can store the data. Fine, for our learning purpose, we don't cross even this much data, right? So we don't even cross this much data, and this is for free of cost, right? It can be available. I think I'm not sure exactly what are all the timelines, but I think it will be available until you cross this space. Okay, so you just click on login and create a cluster. I hope everyone is following that. Anshuman, Vijay.
Yeah, shared cluster only, right? Sunil, we have to create.
It is shared one, right? You create your own, right? So you create your own.
Yeah, no, no. Actually, free is only shared cluster. So that's what I'm saying.
It's a free, and why we are choosing this, right? If you go to any YouTube or any tutorial, most of the times people installs MongoDB, right, locally, but it won't be the real time, right? So in the real time, we never install any DB on developer machine. Okay, so DB won't be on developer machine. Okay, DB will be running on a different computer, right? You needs to connect it to that DB, right? So here also we will do the same thing, right? Here also we will do the same thing. So we will be connecting to the MongoDB, which is running on a cloud, right? Which is running on a cloud, not on my local machine. So it's a more realistic, right? More real time example. So
Uh,
that's why we choose this approach.
the provider is AWS, right?
You can choose anything. You can choose anything, whatever you feel comfortable. If you feel better with AWS, you can choose AWS. If you feel better with Google Cloud, select Google Cloud. If you have any cloud experience, choose that corresponding cloud. If you don't have any cloud experience, just choose AWS. Okay, so make sure every one of you create this your own MongoDB cloud cluster. Okay, so no more local installation, no more MongoDB local installation. So whatever the examples we are going to see, so it's like more real time. So because in the real time project also, we never have any database which is running on the developers machine. Okay, so that's why we choose this approach. Fine, now let's okay, we created the database, right? So we created
What only one instance?
yeah, what is the question, Anjuma?
One instance is created.
No, you have to choose the replica. Okay, fine. For us, one instance also fine. If you want a cluster, right? You want a cluster database. You want to create multiple databases. Just enable that replica, right? So just click yes. So it will create multi-node cluster. Okay, if you know, it is like only one node. If you just make it yes, it will create multi-node cluster, right? With nodes 3, you can increase how many you wanted, right? How many you wanted, you can create. So if it is no, it will create only one node. Fine. So you can go through this, and you can spend your personal time and get some better idea. But to quick start with MongoDB, um, remote instance. So this is what we need to do. So what exactly we did, so this is my local computer, right? So this is my local computer, right? So this is my own computer. Now we are going to connect a MongoDB, right? We are going to connect MongoDB which is not running on my local, right? So which is running on a different location, right? Which is running on a different location, especially that is cloud, right? Why it is a different location? Because it's a cloud, right? So it's a cloud. It's going to be run on a remote location, right? So then, so we are successfully created some cluster we created, right? So we created some MongoDB cluster which has 3 instances. So that is a MongoDB architecture, right? So what is these 3 instances under? So which is nothing but we are creating 3 copies of database, right? So this is our primary copy, and these two are worker nodes or secondary copy, right? Primary copy or worker nodes are secondary copy. So the data is going to be managed across all these 3 nodes. Why it's like that? Because if any problem happens and one node goes down, we don't want to lose the data, right? So we don't want to lose the data. That is the reason why this cluster concept, multi-node concept introduced. Okay. Anyway, that is nothing related to MongoDB. I mean, that is nothing related to our application. Okay. So just for your understanding purpose, I'm telling. Okay. If you install MongoDB locally, automatically it's a single node, but it won't be in real time. It won't be like this, right? So it will be like this, right? So multiple nodes will be created, and we have the same load balancing sharing across all these nodes, and so um, we will get tolerance, right? Like fault tolerance thing. Anything goes down, any node goes down, we don't lose the data. Okay. But now our Spring Boot application, right? So our Spring Boot application is going to run, right? Our Spring Boot application is going to run on local machine, right? So Spring Boot application is going to run on local machine. So this is our Spring Boot application. And now from our Spring Boot application, we should be connected to remote MongoDB, right? So remote MongoDB. So how we can do that, right? So let's go to this. Click on the cluster, click on the connect, click on the cluster, click on the connect. So there are multiple ways you can connect it to this database, right? So you can use shell script, okay? But anyway, that is not our requirement, right? So go back. You can use MongoDB UI, right? How we have MySQL workbench, like that. There is some UI integration is available. You can use that, but our integration is through connecting through data, through application, right? So there are multi language support is available. C language, by using C language, C++, .NET, Go, Java, right? Perl, PHP, Python, Ruby, Scala, right? So there are so many languages support is available. So we are using Java, so that's why we need to select Java. And what is our version? You just select the latest version. Okay, you can select the latest version. So and you can copy this path, right? You can copy this path. Okay, so this is what is our database link. So by using this link, we will be connecting to the database. So while creating the database, it will ask you the password and so my password is MSK Spring, right? Username is MSK Spring and password is MSK Spring. Okay. Yes, and the DB name is also MSK Spring. Okay. Username password is MSK Spring, and DB name also password. DB name also MSK Spring. Right? So by using this string, we can connect it to that remote database, right? So we can be connected to the remote database. Yes. So is it clear, guys? You have.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Sunil, when you went to connect, right? So we need to get this URL only. Is it?
Yes. Yeah. Whatever the string we saw, it's the same URL.
Okay.
From our Spring Boot application, we will use this, right? So the only thing which we need to replace is your password and your database name. So while you are creating your database name, it will ask you what is the username and password and what is the database name. Whatever you gave there, you have to give it here. So I gave password is MSK Spring and
Mhm.
database name as MSK Spring, right? So that is what we are going to um, use it here. Okay, so that's what we are going to use it here. Um, so now we are done with installing the database, right? We are done with installing the database and created some database in the database, right? So we created some schema. Okay.
So first we need to download also, right?
You
This
don't need to download anything,
no
Anshul. It's a cloud.
Compass is there, right? That Compass, MongoDB Compass.
No, no, not required. We don't use
Oh,
any one of this. We will directly connect from our application. If you would
okay.
like to see the database in UI format, then you need to download this Compose. We are
Okay.
going to connect it from Java application, so that's
Hmm.
why we are choosing this approach.
Okay.
But if you would like to see in a UI format, then you have to download the Compose.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Now
Hi.
let's,
Sunil,
yeah.
in usually we give this read-write consistency, right? If we have multiple clusters,
Hmm.
so that we have to mention here or from the application.
No, it will be automatically maintained by MongoDB, right? And all the cluster maintenance should done here itself. I'm showing you a
Okay.
simple application, right? So
Mm.
in the real time, you need to do lot more things, but most probably it should be taken care by your MongoDB admin, right? Yes, if you as a developer, if you get a chance, most of the developers will not get this chance. At least we are lucky we are seeing this part. Okay. Yes, but the replica maintenance, node maintenance, and how much percentage each cluster node should take, those configurations should done here itself, not from our application. Or from our application, we should insert the data, read the data, process the data. Okay, so that is what we need to do. Okay, so what should we do? We should insert the data, read the data, process the data. That is what we should do. Any configuration related, it has to be done from here, right? It has to be done from here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So now let's do one thing. Okay, we just simply created a database, no data now. Okay, we just simply created a database, no data. If you want, I will show step by step process if you are not clear. Okay, let me just make it clear now itself. If you are able to follow, it's fine. If you are not able to follow, let me know. I will show a live demo. I will create one cluster and we will delete the cluster also. Um,
Cluster I created. Only thing is, you told that a URL thing, right? Can you just tell again?
yeah, we didn't go right. We didn't go to our Spring Boot application and connected it. No, I'm
No,
asking
but
everybody.
oh,
If you guys are silent, I will think you are clear. I will continue. Okay. If you are not clear, then I will show how to step by step process. Like just like I will create a profile, right? I will use a different mail ID and I will create profile and I will create a cluster step by step process.
Sunil, can you please show the DB creation?
Okay. So you just go to your browser, type mongodb.com.
No. Cluster is we have created,
No, no,
but
I will
after
show
that,
step by step process. It won't take not even 5 minutes. Okay, more than
okay,
5 minutes.
okay.
Just go to MongoDB. Try with me. Cloud Atlas. Okay. Yeah. Click on Start Free. It will ask you to give how you are using MongoDB. Company optional. You give your personal email ID, right? So let me. I think already I created many profiles. So let me take the the mail ID which is created for your this thing, right? I think it's a Spring Batch 01. Let me go to Gmail section. So go back. So to me, let's oh yeah, it's this is the Gmail ID, right? So let's use this Gmail ID. Yeah. So first name is like Spring, last name is Batch, right? Batch 01. Okay, fine. The password is let's give some random password. Okay, yes, we meet the criteria. Just click on agree. Just click started. So now we created one account. Yeah, it will take a while to log in. Yes, now we logged in. Profile creation done. Okay, profile creation done. welcome. Okay, let's go to, yeah, it will automatically take us to that landing page, right? So go for free, don't select this, go for free. Yes, I want to create a cluster, right? New cluster. So right now I'm in India. So just from this drop down, you select, um, okay, just select Mumbai, right? So we are in Mumbai. So these are all the free cluster nodes, right? So you can select any one of the one which is near to you. I'm in India, that's why I chose Mumbai. Okay, so do you really want a yeah? So we are in the free tier. So if you go to shared cluster and which is crossing more than 512 GB, then up to 2 GB this month we need to pay, up to 5 GB this month we need to pay. Right, per month like $25. I don't want to do that. Let's continue with the free tier and just go to additional settings. Okay, if you want backup, yes, you can select anyway. For free tier it's not available. Okay, let's go to cluster. What is the name of the cluster? We can give, let it be 0, right? Cluster 0. If you would like to give a different name, you can give and click create cluster, right? Yes. Okay, so let's click on create cluster. Okay, the cluster will be created. It will take some time, so automatically it creates the cluster, right? So whatever we are seeing here, it's the same thing, right? Whatever we are seeing here, it's the same thing. So cluster 0, and you see it will take some time, right? It has to create nodes, right? So it will take some 2 to 3 minutes. So that's why I am just trying to explain, but this is what is the process. Okay, so when you create for very first time, so that the database will not have any data, right? So to check whether the data is not there or not there, you just needs to click on these collections, right? Collections. So the data will be stored in MongoDB in terms of collections, right? So it's just like our Java collections, just like our Java collections. So once it is done, we can click on these collections and see whether the data is there or not, right? So if I click on these collections, there is some data which I created, right? So there is some data which I created, so it will show that data, right? So I created a collection called MSK Spring, and there is some data is there, right? So there are around 15 nodes we inserted already for other batch example. So but in the fresh scenario, for in your scenario, when you click on collections, there won't be any collection created, right? So there won't be any collection created. So yeah, it will take some time. Let it take. Okay, so it creates a default cluster tree node, right? So yeah, it's done, right? So it's done. So first click on the connect. Yeah, we need to give username and password. Okay, let's give username as MSK Spring and password as MSK Spring. Okay, username as password username is MSK Spring, password is MSK Spring. Just choose a connection method, right? Okay, fine, let's close this. Yeah, so we created the cluster, and one very important thing what you need to do, one very important thing. Okay, by defaultly none of the systems can connect it to this database, right? None of the systems can connect it to this database. Go to network access. Okay, you need to whitelist our IP, right? We need to whitelist our IP. So to access anywhere from the world, right? So by defaultly everything is blocklisted. You cannot connect it to this database from your Spring application or from your computer. So you need to whitelist your IP. So go to add IP address. Okay, so if you would like to access only from a particular IP address, we need to type those IP address. But if you would like to access anywhere from the world, right? Anywhere from the world, you can just click on allow access from anywhere. So it will automatically populate how to access from like 0000 means anyone can access this database. Anyone can access the database who knows the username and password, right? Who knows the username and password. Just click on confirm, right? Just click on confirm. So now again it will take some time. So that it will automatically can be connected, right? So we can connect anywhere from this. So this is one a very important thing we need to do by defaultly. So let's go to last diagram, right? So the cluster is running on a different node, right? I mean, different computer. So there is a firewall. There is a firewall which will block, right, to connect it to this. So what you should do as a admin, DB admin, you should open the firewall, right? So we are opening like anyone can connect, right? Go to network access, and click on IP whitelist, IP whitelist, and just select allow access from anywhere, right? So that is one more important thing we need to do. Okay, otherwise we cannot connect, right? So it won't allow. So this cluster won't allow to connect it to the database, right? Yes. So that step you need to do. Yes. So after doing that step, let's go to cluster back again. Okay. Let's click on the collections. You don't see no data, right? So it will show there is no data is available at this point of time.
Sunil, where to give firewall access?
Network access.
Okay. No, I didn't see anything there. Actually, I added that IP address.
Okay. You click on
Yeah.
the just now I'm just showing the example, right? So this is the fresh account.
Okay. Yeah, I created this, but where to go and give the firewall access?
No firewall. You just
Oh.
click on all.
Okay. Yeah, this I did.
Yeah, then it's fine. It's open. It automatically opens that firewall. You don't need to do. You just click on the button.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's come back to the clusters, and you click on the collections. Right. When you create a fresh account, it looks something like this. There won't be any data. Okay. There won't be any data. No database. No database. No collection. Right. No database. No collection. Let's go to overview, and right. So there are three nodes will be created automatically: primary and secondary, right? So we cannot, don't click on the upgrade and all, it will ask credit card. Okay, don't do that. Okay, now let's go to cluster and create a database, right? So let's go to cluster and create one database first. It's like creating a schema, right? Creating a schema. So click on the connect. So it will ask you what is the username and what is the password, right? And it will also ask wait, what is the database name, right? So we need to create one database. So let's go ahead and create one database, right? Yeah, so let's add a new database user, right? So the password, I think it's automatically creating the username. So let's not do this. Let's go and create our own username. Okay, so go to clusters, click on connect, give a username like MSK Spring. Okay, MSK Spring. Password also MSK Spring. All are lower in case. Okay. So next, choose connection DB. Set up connection security. I think there is something wrong. Set up connection security. Fine. What happened? MSK Spring. MSK Spring. Choose connection method. Okay. We will choose this. Okay. So yeah. So we can select Java. Let's just select Java and version is latest, right? Yes, but somehow set up security permission. Set up your security permission. Why it's throwing error here? Whitelist IP address is done. Create MongoDB. Okay, I think MSK Spring, and click on create MongoDB. Yes, DB created, right? So user is created. Choose connection method. Okay, so any one of the thing you can choose. Okay, so yeah, just copy this URL, right? Just copy this URL and close. So that's how you can get the URL, right? So that's how you can get the URL. Okay, so whatever the password we entered, you should put it here. Whatever the password you entered, you should put it here. And the default DB name, how can we get it? Once again, it will take again some time to change get the changes reflected, right? So again, it will take some time. Meanwhile, let me see from where we can get the database. Yeah, so the database is this. Okay, database is this. Fine. Yeah, so it's done, right? So it's done. So now go to collections. You don't see any data because we just created username and password, right? We just created username and password. Now it's ready. We can use our MongoDB, right? So there are three things we need to do, right? First one is create profile. Second one is allow network access, right? Okay, do network access changes. Okay, do network access changes. And the third one is create username and password, right? So create username and password. So these three things we need to do for a fresh account, right? So these three things we need to do. So go to mongodb.com, click on cloud, create a profile, log in. It will ask you to create a cluster. Just select free, and go ahead with the default name. So it should be cluster 0. Once that is done, go to network access and whitelist. Let's click allow from anywhere. Again, come back to clusters and create one user, right? So when you click on connect, it will ask you what is the username and password you wanted to connect it to this cluster, right? So those details you need to give, right? So those details you need to give, and so that your database is ready, right? So that your database is ready, and go to connect. Just select application type and copy this URL, right? So copy this URL. Yeah. So just put it aside. So with this, we are done with the database creation, right? So with this, we are done with the database creation. So now our MongoDB cluster is ready. MongoDB cluster is ready. So what is the next step we have to do? We should write a Spring Boot application to connect it to this MongoDB and insert some data, right? So write a Spring Boot application to connect it to this MongoDB, and let's play with it, right? So let's insert some data, read some data, update the data, right? So like that we should do. But before that, if you want to get MongoDB, instance, so you should do all those things. Actually, this is something different. Most of the times, MongoDB will be installed in the local. Okay, if you go to any tutorial and any site, right, they will say like example with MongoDB local install. Okay, but that won't be the real-time scenario, right? In the real time, none of the developers will have database installed on their local, right? So it will be some remote, the database will be running, right? So the most realistic and the most real time is this whatever we did, right? So we created some cluster and node. So whatever we did, it's very basic funda. It's just like real time, but in the real time, the database will be more powerful because they don't go with the free time, right? Mostly they pay money and they get added some security installed, right? So they added some security installed, and like more powerful database they will try to create, right? So for our learning purpose, we are going with the free tier, and maximum up to 512 MB it will be free. Once you cross that limit, again it will ask you to give the credit card and they will charge, right? We saw, right, how much per 2 GB per how much per month, um, 4 GB how much per month, 5 GB how much per month, right? So 2 GB I think $9 per month, 5 GB I think it's like $25 per month, right? So it will be like, if it will be a different scenario. It will be costly using this in the real time also. But anyway, as per learning purpose, we are going with the cloud architecture with the free account. Okay, don't give any credit card if it is asking. Okay, go with the free tier. Let's focus on free tier and try to avoid giving credit cards. Okay, yes. So now let's go to a Spring Boot application, right? Create a Spring Boot application and connect it to this MongoDB, connect to this MongoDB, and create a simple employee object and read it, right? So right now in our database, we don't have any data, right? So in our database, we don't have any data. Now let's go and create a fresh Spring Boot application, file, new project, Spring Starter project, click next. Yes. So let's give project name as Spring Boot Mongo, right? Spring Boot Mongo demo, right? Spring Boot Mongo demo. Yes. Let's give the description as Spring Reactive MongoDB, right? Mongo Cloud, right? So Mongo Cloud DB demo, right? So Mongo Cloud DB demo. So package name you can do Calm Spring Boot Webflex, okay? And the artifact name Spring Reactive Mongo demo, right? So next, click next. Yes. So now this time it's going to be a different scenario, right? So what are all the dependencies we needed? So we need web, but it's not MVC. It is like reactive web, right? It's a reactive web. It's not a web, it's a reactive web. Yes. Now we need Lombak, select Lombak. Okay. So we need DevTools, just select DevTools. Okay. And we need a driver to connect it to MongoDB, right? We need a driver to connect it to MongoDB. Just select Spring Data Reactive MongoDB, right? So we are, by using this, we will be connected to MongoDB. Make sure you select reactive. Okay, don't select Spring Data MongoDB, select reactive, right? So it's a reactive programming. So make sure you select the reactive. Okay, so we need these 4 dependencies. One is a Spring Web Reactive, MongoDB Reactive, Lombak, and DevTools, right? So these two are common, we know already, but there is something new with the Reactive Web and Reactive MongoDB. Click next. Okay, click finish. Okay, so meanwhile, what I will do, I will close the remaining projects. Okay, I will close the remaining projects to avoid the unwanted confusion. Okay, so yes, so this is the project which we created, right? So Mongo demo, yes. So it's a normal Spring Boot project. This we are doing for so many days. Okay, but the dependencies are little different, right? Webflex reactive. So when we add reactive web, so Webflex will be added. Reactive web means Webflex, and we added MongoDB reactive. MongoDB reactive. Yes, make sure you properly select your dependencies. Okay, yes. Now let's go to application.properties. Application.properties. So by using the string, right? By using the string, we can connect it to the remote database. We can connect it to the remote database, but the key is little different, right? Key is little different. Yeah, the key is this. Okay, so the key is MongoDB URI, right? The key is MongoDB URI. So the value is whatever we copied from remote, right? Cloud MongoDB, but the key is Spring Data MongoDB URI. Spring Data MongoDB URI, and you should also say which database you are connecting. You should also say which database you are connecting. Right, so let's give the database name as MSK Spring, so that Spring Boot will create this database automatically, right? So Spring Boot will create this database automatically. So let's copy these 2 parameters. Let's copy these 2 parameters in application.properties. So the username is MSK Spring. Okay, password is MSK Spring. Let's give the as is. Okay, yes, MSK Spring, and we are going to create a database MSK Spring, right? Username, password, database, all 3 are same. Don't get confused. So this is a username and this is the password and this is the database name, right? Yes. Now by using these parameters, our Spring Boot can connect it to that remote database, and it will create one database also. It will create one database also. Let's quickly create one simple employee object and insert the data, right? So let's quickly create one simple employee object and connect it to the database, connect to the database and insert the data into the database, right? So let's quickly create one controller. Okay, so for demo I'm showing. Okay, I will write a separate service, right? But before that, make you feel comfortable, I'm just writing a simple demo, right? So let's move this into um, okay, controller. Yes. Let's move this into controller. Fine. Yes, but before that, let's create a model class, right? So what we would like to save in the database. So right click, new class. Let's put it in the model package, right? So let's put employee class in the model package. So it's very simple: employee ID, employee name. Let's not give too much data also, but just for demo purpose, this model class is going to have only two parameters: int employee, right? Int employee ID and private string employee name, right? So let's remove that employee because ID and name are present in employee model. So obviously they are employee, right? These details are related to employee. Yes. But there is a thumb rule, right? When we use data JPA, there are two annotations are mandatory. What are all those?
The column name, if
Data.
it is same.
No, at entity, right? At entity. Okay, so at entity, I think it's missing. So let's do one thing. Okay, at entity is missing. There it is. Let me go to form.xml file. Okay. Okay, fine. So in reactive, it's not required. Anyway, in reactive, it's not required, but we need ID. Okay, ID is there. Okay, ID is there, but entity is not there. Okay, ID is there, but entity is not there. ID for sure it is required, right? ID for sure it is required. So let's quickly generate. Okay, let's quickly generate getters and setters. But before that, whenever you are storing data in MongoDB, okay, that particular model is called document. Okay, so here it is document. Okay, so this annotation is purely dedicated for MongoDB. So the data will be stored in the MongoDB in terms of documents. That's why we need to keep this annotation, right? In terms of documents. Yes. Now let's add our data, right? So now let's add our data and our builder, right? So let's add our builder and add no arg constructor and add all our constructor, right? All these are Lombard annotations, fine. But this is very very important whenever you are trying to play with the MongoDB. Okay, so your model class should annotate with at document because in MongoDB the data will be stored in terms of documents, right? So this is very very important. Only the people who are new to MongoDB, right? So they should remember this, right? So the data will be stored, right? So data will store in document. Okay, so it's just a different terminology. If it is data JPA, we use at entity. If it is MongoDB, we use at document. At document. But make sure you annotate with at ID, right? You make sure you annotate with at ID. Fine. Okay. Let's do these changes, right? So we are done with writing model class, right? We are done with writing model class. Two mandatory annotations. One is document, and another one is ID. One is document, and another one is ID. Yes, now let's go to controller, right? So let's mark this as REST controller and write a simple post method to save this data into the database, right? So post mapping, we give /emp, right? /emp and take that employee and save it into the database, right? So take the employee, save it and return back, right? So employee emp, right? Save method name is save employee. Okay, method name is save employee. Okay, so just save this request body into employee, right? So we are going to save this into MongoDB database. Yes, now let's directly create a repository, right? It's a test, I mean learning purpose we are doing, no service. Let's directly create a repository. So right click, new interface. In data JPA, repositories are interface, and put this interface in repository package, right? So this is employee repository, right? So what repository is this? This is employee repository, right? Yes, finish. Okay, employee repository finished, but this time it's going to be extends. One more time you need to focus. Okay, so Mongo, okay, Mongo reactive repository. Okay, there are two repositories will be there. Mongo repository, Mongo reactive repository. Are you able to see anywhere? Mongo reactive repository. Let me check whether it's some reactive Mongo repository. Reactive Mongo repository. So sorry. So it's reactive Mongo repository, and which is going to store employee information, and the
ID.
primary is integer.
Yeah.
Primary key is integer. Any questions? Okay, just do Control Shift O, right? Employee is our model class. Employee, make sure this is reactive Mongo repository. Make sure this is reactive Mongo repository. So there are two databases are there: Mongo repository, reactive Mongo repository. Mongo repository is not reactive model; it's a basic, right? It will return the direct object. Okay, it will return the direct object. But in our case, it's a Mongo reactive repository. You see, the return types are monoflux, right? So whenever you are writing reactive programming, every method should return monoflex. Every method should return monoflex. So if you choose Mongo repository, so no monoflex, it is not a reactive programming, right? So there is a small, there are some small corner cases where we should be very careful. Okay, so whenever you are writing a repository, make sure you extend from proper reactive from proper reactive repository, right? So we are using reactive database, right? So reactive MongoDB, so we are using reactive Mongo repository, reactive Mongo repository. Now let's go back and do auto wire of that repository and call that method auto wire private employee repository emp repo. Then we can directly call emp repo just to import. Yes, just do emp repo dot save and pass employee, right? Save and pass emp loye. Yes, save the employee. Done. Okay, but this should return some employee object, right? Okay, yeah. So the biggest mistake we did, the return type should be mono. Every method should return mono. That is a thumb rule, right? Every method should return mono. Okay, now you are going to get that saved mono repository, just return back, right? So you will get that saved mono repository, just return back. Okay, so this is how you should write your reactive programming. Every method should return mono. Okay, every method should return mono or flex. That's it. Okay, don't return any raw type. Okay, don't return employee, don't return product, don't return mobile, don't return user, don't return any customer, right? Don't do that. Every method return type should be mono or flex, either mono or flex. That's it.
Sunil? Yes, here we should not use model object employee in the controller, right? Maybe we should create a response object and then return.
No. Just for learning purpose we are doing.
Okay.
Just for demo, how to connect it to MongoDB. This is not our microservice. Our microservice is like we will have some big project like 10 to 15 files will be there. Just demo starting quick start. I'm just showing you one basic example. Like most of the people are new to MongoDB and reactive programming, right? So I just want you guys to have just a simple example, right? Okay, so these rules you should follow, right? While writing a reactive programming, so there are a couple of places where you should be very active. One is adding the dependencies, and another one is return types of methods and writing. So based on the database, especially when you are connecting to the database MongoDB, it is no more entity, it's document. No more entity and it's document. And when you go to repository, it should be reactive. It should be reactive repository. Okay. Yes. Now let's go to our application and bring up our application. Okay. Let's bring up our application. Okay, the server is going to start. Yes, it started on port 8080, right? It started on port 8080. No problem. Now let's go to Postman. Okay, and just try to send the post request, right? So it's a post request. We are trying to save the data, but before that, let's go to collections and make sure there is no data, right? There is no data. After we send the post request, on successful completion of the transaction, right? That request processing, you should see there is one data will be inserted here. Now let's go to Postman and type HTTP localhost 8080, right? 8080 slash employee, right? So EMP, yes, it's a post request. In the body, we have to send that employee information. So just send as like a JSON data. Fine, still it works. Okay, it's a JSON data. I think ID we have given, right? So ID, let's send ID, and name. I think we gave. Let's send some name. Okay, and the value is like this, right? Sunil Mark, right? Yes. So this is what is the employee we are going to save it in the remote database, right? Just click send. It should go to our request processing. I think it's hold down. Yes, it's saved, right? It's saved. Can you please be on mute? Now let's go to the database and just refresh, right? Just refresh. Now you see the data will be inserted here, right? Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's loading that. Okay, so this is the ID and this is the name and this is what is the um, data. Okay, and to retrieve that, just go back and right, just go back and write get method. The the methods are already available in, right? Just go and do get mapping. Okay, it's again like employee and default. Let's select all the employees, right? So let's select all the employees. So when you are selecting one employee, okay, let's start with one employee, right? So here expect the ID, here expect the ID, and that's going to be our path variable. So when you are going to return one particular employee information, the return type should be mono. Return type should be mono. Get employee by ID, right? By ID, yes. And here we should take path variable, okay, and that should be ID, okay, int ID. Yeah, inside this, let's call return employee report dot find by ID, right? So find by ID and pass the ID. Yes. Okay, so one more endpoint is added. One more endpoint is added. It's fine. So as we added dev tools, it will take some time to get the changes reflected. Yes, it started. The server is started. Now let's go to Postman and just change this to post to get and send ID to get that employee ID coming back, right? Yes. Only one thing is saved. So we retrieve that information, right? We retrieve that information. But when you would like to retrieve all the employee information, right? All the employee information, so the database can have more than one employee ID in the database, right? So the data can have more than one employee in the database. So let's say get all employee, and it's not find by ID, it's like find all, find all. So what is the return type of find all? It is a flex, right? So why it's a flex? Because the database can have more than one employee in the more than one employee in the table. So we are going to return more than one, right? So mono will not be suitable for that requirement, right? Mono will not be suitable for that requirement. It should be flex, right? It should be flex. So let's quickly save another employee information, right? Let's quickly save one more employee information. Let's go to post and change the ID to 2, right? Change the ID to 2, and let's give the employee name as UIN and just click send. There will be one more. Okay, I think post. Yeah, the problem with this. Yeah, 405 method not allowed. Yeah, let's correct the URL and send it. Yeah, now one more data we inserted. Just refresh. You'll see there are 2 employees will be there in the database, right? So yeah, there are 2 rows. Now let's go back and try to get second employee information /1. You get that particular employee information /2. You get that particular employee information. Don't pass 1 or 2. You get all employee information. So that is what is flex. Okay. So it's almost same, right? It's almost same. We are doing this for so many days in our training itself. But the only difference is return types are monos and flex, right? So the only difference is the return types are monos and flex, and while you are creating the database, right? While you are creating the database and connecting to the database, the approach is got it. I mean, it little change, right? So earlier it was like data source. It is like MongoDB, right? So we are connecting to the MongoDB. That's why we are giving MongoDB. And the biggest benefit, especially today, right? Today's session, we not install the database locally. We are using a remote database which is in cloud, which is clustered, right? Which has the cluster, and that too for free of cost. Okay, so it's like mostly the real time, the mostly kind of real time it is. Okay, and as I told you already, okay, so most of the code we feel comfortable, right? Most of the code writing we feel comfortable. Okay, so but the return types will change and the repositories will change, right? So it's like mostly reactive. So end to end, right? End to end. From controller, we are calling repository. So that repository also should return mono. From controller, we are calling repository. From repository, that repository also should return monos. Tomorrow, if you introduce service, the service should also return mono, right? You should write your service to return mono. So all the method return types should be mono, right? All the method return types should be monos or flex, mono or flex. That's it. Okay, so that is what is a major impact. But apart from that, there are so many changes for there, right? Yesterday we were discussing about so many operators, right? And those operators are going to be mostly in the functional programming. Okay, so one very important note I want you to tell you, the people, the programmers who are new to functional programming and who are new to reactive programming. At least the people who are working on Angular and React.js or Kotlin or Groovy, they might have handy with this. But the people who are working on Java older versions, right, 5, 6, 7, 8, I know they feel very uncomfortable with these models, but it's okay up to 7, right? So for those people, it's really mandatory. You should learn the reactive programming. The future is going to be reactive. The future is going to be reactive. If you want to survive in the Java, right? Java and on Spring or especially in Java, right? It can be any framework in the upcoming, any new framework is going to be introduced. It's going to be full of reactive. It's going to be full of functional code. Okay, so no more blocking, because microservices architecture, we cannot make threads to wait until the DB gives the response, until the third party services giving the response, right? Because our services are small in size, they have less memory, right? They have less memory, so we cannot make the threads to wait. For sure, even though you really feel difficult understanding this concept, you have to do coding 1 or 2 times, right? 1 or 2 times. You have to do more hands-on. Whatever the example we are executing on this training, please try to do hands-on. Okay. Otherwise, it is very difficult, right? Yesterday itself, I said that expectation. So maximum you can understand 40 to 50%, right? So the remaining part, it's in your hands. Okay, but for sure you have to upgrade. For sure you have to upgrade. I will tell you one small example. Okay, there is a class called REST template, right? So we already saw that, right? REST template. Yes, we already saw the REST template. Let's go to this API documentation. See the kind of changes are going to be happened on the blocking API. Okay, so the REST template. Okay, what version we are now? Yes, note. See the note. As of 5.0, this class is in maintenance mode, right? No more new features will be introduced in REST template. It is just on the maintenance mode with only minor requests for changes and bugs to be accepted going forward. Please consider using ORG Spring Framework Web, right? This we need to stress reactive, right? Reactive client, web client. So going forward, if you are trying to make any HTTP call using Spring, it has to be web client as per the documentation by the Spring people, because REST template is a blocking API, right? Your thread will wait until you get the response back from the third party service, right? So it's almost kind of deprecated. REST template is almost kind of deprecated, but they are not deprecating because to give the backward support. Okay, if the same thing for all the blocking technologies, in future Spring MVC is going to be deprecated. In future JDBC API is going to be deprecated because these are all blocking APIs, right? We cannot make our threads to wait until you get the response from the third party service and until you get the response from the JDBC API. So the people who are in Java, right, if they want to survive like next couple of years, so they should learn this reactive programming, and moreover reactive programming is booming. Okay, moreover reactive programming is booming now. If you are just looking for a change, so this will give you an add-on, right? For sure, you are expecting some 20-30% hike. If you know the reactive programming, you can ask for like 50%, because the people, I mean, the people who know this reactive programming is very less. Okay, especially doing hands-on is very rare. Maybe people can read some blogs and all, but doing hands-on is a different experience. So it's going to be a new weapon added into your skill set, right? So reactive programming, like Java reactive programming, so it's like a new weapon added in your skill set. So make sure you do practice like on daily basis, right? Yes. So but anyway, let's come back. By using Spring Webflex, MongoDB, and it's a fully reactive, you can bash this, right? You can create 5,000 threads or 10,000 threads, and you can bash, no problem. This application can hold, and none of the threads will be blocked. Okay, while calling the database. Okay, but okay, if you are programmatically writing thread to sleep, it will sleep. I mean, it will be, your response will be delayed. That thread won't be sleeping. It will go and process some other request. But if you are doing it manually, right, time dot unit dot sleep, right, time unit dot sleep, but your response will be delayed for sure. Your response will be delayed. But the thread which is sorry, it's like seconds dot sleep, right? Yeah, seconds and dot sleep. How many seconds we would like to make it sleep? So that we need to give. So your response time still is 2 seconds, but that is not going to be increased. Okay, that is not going to be increased because we are programmatically making the thread to sleep. But actually this thread will not be sleeping. It will go and process some other request. It won't be sleeping. It will go and process some other request. Okay, so we are forcefully making the right, I mean, we are writing the code to code thread to sleep, then obviously it will sleep. Okay, obviously it will sleep, but that thread won't be sleeping. Actually, it will go and process some other request, right? It will go and process some other request. For example, something like this, right? So let's assume that you are working on for example, very real time example, right? So you ordered some mobile on some e-commerce site. The expected delivery time today 1 p.m., right? So expected delivery time like today 1 p.m. So you are busy and you ask to come that guy to like for 10 minutes, right? After 10 minutes or like 1:30 p.m., right? Yes, as you are requesting, this delivery will be delayed, right? But he won't be sitting idle. He will go and give the delivery. Remaining things can be processed, right? He won't be sitting idle until you are coming like 30 minutes. He won't sit that 30 minutes idle, right? He will go and do some other task. But still, you will get that product delivered by 1:30 p.m. because we are insisting here, right? So we are insisting. Okay, give me the response with 2 seconds delay. Then it will give 2 seconds delay. It doesn't mean that that thread will sleep for 2 seconds, right? So it's the same example. Your delivery boy will not sit idle for 30 minutes until you come back, right? No, he will go and give some other delivery which is nearby and he will come back. Right? It's the same thing here, right? It's the same thing is going to be happen. Okay, so until unless you are forcefully insisting the threads to be blocked, yes, it will be blocked. I mean, it will be response time will be increasing, but for sure no threads will be in blocking state by using reactive programming, right? Our main agenda, that is, right? So our major agenda itself is that. So none of the threads will be in blocking state, right? None of the threads will be in blocking state until we forcefully say block, right? Yes. So that is the reason why I said don't use block and subscribe. Okay, you just return the mono as is. So your HTTP client will subscribe to this mono, right? Our HTTP client will perform a subscription, will perform a subscribe on this mono. So we no need to do any subscribe blocking and all. You just return from your method. So our HTTP client will do a subscription and he will take care about that process. Okay. So in the next couple of years, there are so many changes are going to be happening in this entire IT world, right? So that entire JDBC API is going to be rewritten, right? Already Spring is working on it. So I will show you what is the project name. Let's go to Spring Data. I think it's R2DBC, R2DBC. Okay, so data, Spring Data. Yes. Yeah, the project name is R2DBC, right? Reactive Rational Database Connectivity. Reactive Rational Database Connectivity. At this point of time, it is supporting only Postgres, H2, and Microsoft SQL Server. Maybe in the future, they will provide support for Oracle. They will provide support for MySQL. At the same point of time, Oracle also working on this JDBC API to make it reactive. Okay, Oracle team also working on this JDBC API, make it reactive. So in the next couple of years, there are few changes are going to be happen in the Java. Most of the things are going to be changed to reactive. Okay, so this is a initial footprint. Okay, this is an initial footprint. Okay, so the projects which are using MongoDB and the projects which are using Postgre, okay, Postgre, MySQL Server, right? So Microsoft SQL Server. So these projects can be used with Webflex. At this point of time, we have very minimal support, right? So you see, this is very recent. They introduced this. This is very recent happening within a month back. Okay, so this 1.1.0 introduced within a month back. So at this point of time, mostly the companies are using Spring Webflex with reacting with MongoDB, because MongoDB has this reactive support, right? In our yesterday's slide, we saw that, right? So in the as part of library section, like who provided implementation for this reactive programming? MongoDB reactive Java driver, right? So that is what is a reactive Mongo driver, right? So reactive Mongo repository. So this is being used internally. At this point of time, so we don't have full-fledged support for all the relational databases. Okay, still it is like in incubation phase. Okay, the complete reactive programming, it's in incubation phase for Java. But for sure, after 2 years or 3 years, no JDBC, no MVC, like full of monoflex, right? I mean, if it is a Spring Webflex, some other third party library framework is going to come, it may have a different name, right? But at least the flow will be same. The operators mostly the same, filter, map, right? So at least like 50 to 60% of the architecture will be same. So you need to spend spend some more time to learn that other framework, like for example Vertex, right? So Vertex, it's from Eclipse. So again, it's some other third party. It's again a framework. But anyway, this is not that much popular, but it's from JBoss community, right? So who is supporting this? JBoss, right? So it's from JBoss community. At this point of time, yeah, when I go to documentation, yeah, so it shows that JBoss, right? JBoss community. So maybe in the future, like any new other framework may be coming like better than this Spring Webflex. But anyway, at this point of time from Spring, this is the only support, and we can able to connect it to MongoDB at this point of time. Recently, they introduced this project R2DBC, Reactive Relational Database Connectivity. But at this point of time, it is supporting only PostgreSQL and Microsoft SQL support. If we would have the MySQL, I would have been showing that example. But anyway, at this point of time, we have only this one, right? MongoDB support. Okay, so yeah, so with this we are done almost with the basics. So it's time to jump into a real-time microservice, right? So implementing all the 4 CRUD operations, right? Retrieving and performing validations, exception handling, right? Performing validations, but most of the things are almost same, right? Exception handling, the documentation, filtering, AOP, all these features will work just like our MVC, The only particular part which is going to change is return types and the database section. Okay, so it's almost easy, not that much complicated, because at this point of time we have very minimal features, right? So that is the reason why we are yeah, anyway, we will write one more service. But most complicated part in this entire training is the mobile client, because as per the documentation suggested by Spring, we are not going to use REST template. We are going to use web client. While writing that code, as yesterday said, maximum you can understand 20 to 30%. Okay, maximum. Okay, but yeah, it will be like that only. That is the actual real expectation, because it's a pure new concept. You might never seen that kind of future. So you really feel difficulty, right, understanding that code. I'm telling you, that is the real expectation. But anyway, that is another microservice. We will see that later. Okay, so tomorrow I will create one more microservice, okay, to fetch some more data from the this database, right? So MongoDB. So I request you to create one MongoDB cloud instance and connect it to that by using this application, right? Example. So what I will do, I will push this code into GitHub and share the link with you. I will push this code into GitHub and share the link with you. So before attending tomorrow's session, make sure, okay, I'm just going to like, it's a kind of request, right? Please practice this and attend tomorrow's session. At least this particular part, just type with your hands, right? And create one cluster and insert some data and see this, right? Retrieve the data and see it in the Postman. Okay, so just complete this part. Okay, and
Yes,
because we need this database for sure.
sure, sir.
Yeah. Okay guys, yeah, sorry, today I have some other work, I have to step out.